Okay, so we need to switch that out in Danner. Yeah. Just pull up youtube.com/DeltaCollegian.
What is your guys'? I was on that, and it didn't say that you guys were right.
No, we had it. We fixed it up with the computer.
Well, I've got it off Periscope, so. Do you know if with audio is running through for Periscope?
Oh, it's all natural.
It's all
natural.
So even this?
Even this is natural.
Really?
We're going to go off the
Okay. Okay.
Hey.
So the audio feed from the microphones, you're recording, but it's not going in any of the live streams?
No, not that I know.
You working Saturday?
Sign into my system and then
I work Wednesdays and Fridays.
Oh, no Saturday.
No Saturdays. Yeah, and so we're going there, the stream is up. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it will be as soon as So do you want to?
You want to tell me to go ahead and take their seats? Yeah. We get started. Start in 2 minutes. Start in about 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Could you please take your seats? We're about to get this started in a couple of minutes now. So if you can, find your seat. seats. We'll proceed in a couple of minutes.
It's fine.
So used to it. Patti?
Where's the camera? Is that right? Isn't that amazing how that technology's changed? I remember being in
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is about 1 minute warning. We'll start in 1 minute.
But you, I'll be glad in 28, 26 days or so. Life again.
From there, if you want to see it live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight here in the lovely Delta College campus for tonight's Candidate Forum, presented by the League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Stockton Branch, the Delta College Multimedia, Political Science, and History program, again, for tonight's Candidate Forum. We want to ask of you a few things, though. One, we would ask, once the forum gets started, please no photography. So all cell phones, please be put away. We will not allow streaming or picture taking from this event unless you are already given permission as a media personnel. So again, once this forum gets started, please no cell phones, no pictures, and no other recording of this event. We also ask that you please maintain a level of decorum. These candidate forums are here for you to learn about the candidates' political platforms and what you need to vote. So we ask that you treat this as such, and that you please practice decorum. No applause, please. Again, this is a limited amount of time that each speaker has. So we please ask that you just maintain a level of professionalism as you sit in these seats, because these people will be giving you theirs, and we ask that you give the same to them, all right? So with that being said, let's bring up tonight's moderator. He is the professor of history here at Delta College. He is Evan, who am I? I apologize. My name is Rodrigo Villagomez. I am an adjunct professor here at Delta College in the radio television department, so that's who I am. But now let's bring up the person who's really here to have the microphone. He's a professor of history here. He is Evan Wade.
Afternoon. Evening. My name is Evan Wade. I am a professor of history here at Delta College, and it's our pleasure to have the Candidates Forum on today, our Fall 2016 Forum. And we have two forums on today. We received word on yesterday, the League of Women Voters received word that Senator Galgiani could not participate in the Senate forum that was scheduled today due to a scheduling conflict. She is attending a conference on water. We therefore regret canceling the District 5 Senate forum for today. But we will have today our California San Joaquin County Supervisor Forum for District 3, as well as the U.S. Representatives District 9 race. And I want to briefly go over the format for the race today. First, candidates will have a 1-minute opening statement. After the 1-minute opening statements, we'll go ahead and have questions from our two panelists. Our panelists for this race are Christine Farid of the Women League of Voters, as well as Luana Bivens of the NAACP. And they'll be alternating asking the same question to both candidates. You will have 1.5 minutes to respond to the questions. And at the end of the question period, we'll have 1.5 minutes for closing statements from both candidates. And so at this time, let me formally introduce our two candidates for the San Joaquin County District 3 race. That is our current supervisor, Zapien, and Mr. Patti. And so with that, we'll have 1 minute for the opening statements. And we can just wait for the cue from the cue cards.
Who do you want to go first, Evan?
I'm sorry, Mr. Zapien first.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Moses Zapien, and I have the honor of serving as your county supervisor and chairman of the board. I'm pleased to be here this evening and welcome everyone. I'm running for supervisor because I deeply care about this community and I believe in its people. I believe that working together, we can improve the quality of life for our residents. We can build safer and healthier neighborhoods by focusing on youth prevention and intervention efforts. We can help improve outcomes for our young people by improving literacy and focusing on early childhood education. I believe that we can improve our local economy by focusing on entrepreneurship, small businesses, and strategically investing in our county's assets such as the airport. I was born and raised in San Joaquin County, and I'm proud to be the son of immigrant parents who started off working the Delta fields and saved enough money to start our own family business. It was because of their hard work and dedication that I was able to be the first in my family to go to college and go on to become an attorney and work in the district attorney's office as a deputy district attorney. Now, as county supervisor, I continue to look forward to serving you.
Mr. Patti, 1 minute as well.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for our hosts and for everybody that's here in attendance. We share a commonality. We're residents here in San Joaquin, and equally, we care about the direction of where our community is going. That's why I'm running, because of the direction and the leadership of where we're going. And I have to give credit and recognize that there are people in the community that participate, whether you're students here, whether you're business people like myself, or if you're public servants like Moses at this time. But I'd like to point out that Moses, in the private sector, when working for a nonprofit, he had some very fantastic accomplishments where he works for a nonprofit and he had a 30% increase right here on his resume, a 30% increase in 1 year in the 6 months he was there of the revenue he brought in and the caseload of what he did. It's after that time when he got into public service is where I find it concerning. We're seeing a lack of leadership and we're seeing things that aren't being done at the supervisor level and weren't done at the council level that causes me concern to want to run and be in this race. We'll talk more about that this evening.
We'll now have our first question directed to Mr. Patti by Christine Farid. And for the responses, we asked the responses to be kept to 1.5 minutes.
The county is currently updating its general plan. The League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County supports measures to preserve agricultural land in San Joaquin County, including ensuring that our water supply is sustainable. However, surface water and groundwater are not reliably and sustainably available for agricultural irrigation or for other purposes in this county. What efforts can be made to address these conditions?
Great question. I believe that the general plan that they worked on was based on a 2004 report, not the current 2014 mandate for groundwater management. So that's an issue that needs to be acknowledged and it needs to be addressed. We do not have an unlimited supply of groundwater, and we've certainly experienced, four and a half, I'd say last year was a half year, but we've had a sustained drought in this region. So there are mandates that by 2020, we've got groundwater management in place so that we are taking care of not only agricultural needs, but we're protecting what happens in the future, because once this groundwater is gone and the ground collapses, it's no longer a viable source of water. So I believe in the Greenbelt, I believe in agriculture, I believe in a sustained and very smart level of growth, but we need to have, that general plan needs to include and plan for the law required mandates for the 2020 standard that comes, 30 seconds. So, in a nutshell, we have to address it, and the general plan did not. So I'm in favor of what we need to do to be proactive. It's a challenge, though, because a lot of the groundwater goes across county lines, and it goes into different zones. So we need to put together a commission, and the Board of Supervisors is engaged in this matter at this time, so that we can meet that mandate in 2020. And the general plan needs to include that as well.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you again. I do want to say from the outset that my focus is on your issues. I know that there may be allegations made, but my focus is on the issues that matter to you and that is important to this community. And so that is what's going to be my focus from these responses. From the question, I am in favor of a general plan that focuses on growth within the cities, because the cities are most capable of being able to provide all the necessary services for our residents here in San Joaquin County. And with respect to groundwater management, we are working very diligently with not only agencies, but cities who are trying to be able to adapt to state legislation that has mandated groundwater management. And so we are diligently working to be able to make those particular jurisdictions able to work as a collaborative region and as an agency throughout San Joaquin County. And we'll be developing those particular outlines in the next couple of months when we have those discussions and when the general plan comes before the Board of Supervisors in a few months. And now I want to focus particularly on agriculture, because I am proud to be endorsed by the Farm Bureau of San Joaquin County. Agriculture is San Joaquin County's primary industry, $3.2 billion last year. And we need to be able to preserve as much farmland as we can for future generations. San Joaquin County feeds the world, and I'm very proud of our agricultural heritage.
Ms. Vivens has a second question, and it'll be addressed to Supervisor Zapien first.
We hear election promises from politicians and would-be politicians every election cycle. So much so that trust seems to be a big issue with our community, and especially communities of color. What will you do to rebuild trust with our community, and especially the African American community and other minorities and women?
Thank you. From the outset, I recognize that we as elected officials are ambassadors of our institutions. And so it is incumbent upon us to go out into the community and build those bridges of trust. And for the last year, I have worked to be able to have community hours in all the cities that I represent. I want to be out and about. I want to get to know what is important to all of you, to all of our various diverse communities. San Joaquin County is truly a diverse community with a whole host of various demographics that I want to be able to represent. I want to be a supervisor for all San Joaquin County, and being able to build those bridges is critically important. So I look forward to continuing to go to the meetings of, for example, the NAACP, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the African American Chamber of Commerce, all these organizations that represent the diversity of San Joaquin County. It's important to be engaged with what their priorities are, with what they stand for, with what they advocate for, so we can be a voice for the multiplicity of people who live in San Joaquin County. I'm proud for the past year and a half that I've been able to go out into the community and try to be able to represent the diversity of San Joaquin County that we truly are.
That's a great question. A lot of politicians will talk, and climb that political ladder, but they're not getting the job done. There's a big difference between business people and career politicians. Career politicians, they want to regulate. Business people want to facilitate. We find the obstacles, we figure out the solution, we create a pathway to success, and we move forward. As a prime example of talk, Councilman Zapien in 2014 had a Wilson Way initiative, getting rid of prostitution from Wilson Way, which is where my business in that vicinity is located. Guess what never happened after the press conference? There was no reduction of prostitution. There was no cleaning up of the streets. There's as much drugs, as much gang activity, and as much prostitution on Wilson Way today as there was in 2014, as there was in 2012. I'm concerned in this community about people that talk, but they don't get the job done. That's why I'm running. I'm going to tackle the issues, I'm going to follow through, and I'm going to see the course of my service to the community as a county supervisor to its end. I'm not going to jump ship, go to another office when it opens up. I'm not going to seek a new level of participation in another office that when opportunity presents itself. I'm going to make a commitment, I'm going to see it through, and it will get better when I say it's an issue that's going to be taken care of. As far as anyone, we're at the time. Thank you.
And the next question will be addressed to Mr. Patti first.
The county has convened a homelessness task force. What specific measures do you see as most effective in addressing the many facets of homelessness in our county?
Great question. There are many elements to solving or tackling the homeless issue. About 85% of the people, I'm told, are substance abuse people that are addicted to drugs or alcohol. A lot of mental health issues. There are veterans that aren't accessing services that are available to them. Instead of taking a $40,000 junket to New York City to find out what New York City is doing, a city with millions of people and much different revenue source than we have, I personally would take probably a $6 ride down to Manteca and talk to them about their resource officers and see how they've been very instrumental in getting probably about a dozen people off the streets in just the last couple of months, engaging one-on-one. So in order to solve the problem, I think we need to identify, and I love, by the way, I've talked to the Sheriff Moore at length, the plan he has for the Honor Farm and having wraparound services, incorporating a legal process to bringing them off the street, but allowing them a pathway to choose an opportunity for treatment, mental health issues, substance abuse issues. There's a pathway to success for them. Another great program in Sacramento, you know, if I were going to spend money, instead of taking a $40,000 junket to New York City, I'd go up to Sacramento. I'd spend $15 in gas, and I'd talk to them about their St. John's program. It's been exceptionally successful, not only getting people off the streets, but giving them job training skills so they can be not only independent, but self-sufficient. That's the type of program I see bringing here.
So I'm proud to serve as the Vice Chair of the County Homelessness Task Force. And since the beginning of the year, we have been engaged with nonprofit organizations, service providers, all the cities in San Joaquin County to be able to develop both short-term and long-term strategies to address homelessness here in San Joaquin County. Now, we have to understand that homelessness is a complex issue. There are a variety of reasons why people become homeless, and so the solutions will be equally complex. And so we have worked to develop both short-term issues that we can work around, such as developing our sheriff's department to be able to better equip them and better respond to the needs of homelessness. We're also working with our regional collaborators here on a very promising program that the sheriff has endorsed and is based on a model that we have looked nationwide to develop. Now, that model is a housing to work model, which focuses on a particular demographic that is ready, willing, and able, homeless individuals. And so we're looking to be able to provide economic opportunities, job training, wraparound services to people who are homeless here in San Joaquin County. And we're also looking to develop a housing first policy, which understands that we need to stabilize people's conditions before we bring them to a level of self-sufficiency. Thank you.
Next question will go to Supervisor Zapien first.
In your opinion, what are the top 2 most pressing issues facing the County of San Joaquin, and how do you plan to address them?
I think part of the top 2 issues has to include homelessness in general. And I've already outlined some of the things that the county is doing. But we also need to understand that the Governor's Twin Tunnels project is perhaps one of the most concerning proposals that face San Joaquin County. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Twin Tunnels project, the Twin Tunnels looks to divert water from the Delta to the south, and it would cost San Joaquin County billions in terms of the negative effects to our agricultural industry. It would not add a single drop of water to our region's water supply, and would cost state taxpayers billions of dollars. And so we need to continue to work with our coalition partners, with other counties, to be able to stop the Delta Tunnels project. And I look forward to going to the state capitol, as I have on previous occasions, to advocate for San Joaquin County and be able to help stop the Delta Tunnels, which are so disastrous for San Joaquin County and for the state.
Thank you. Top 2 issues. Public safety, I would say, is number 1. It's a concern that everybody in all neighborhoods are feeling. I mean, my gosh, we just had a couple weeks ago a 3-year-old child shot as she was a passenger in her parents' car driving down the street. There's no gang affiliation or anything of that sort. That's a tremendous concern. And economic development is a tremendous concern. There aren't jobs here. When I mentioned before, business people are facilitators and supervisors, Supervisor Zapien is a regulator. They just passed an ordinance, a wine ordinance in Lodi, that killed jobs, killed expansion, killed opportunity. Not everybody wants to grow up and be a forklift driver. Not everybody wants to work in a transit center. But when you pass a wine ordinance that restricts the expansion and opportunity of existing businesses to host facilities, to limit the amount of people they have, and to put restrictive and draconian measures on them to have a parking attendant for 25 cars when the parking lot holds 250 cars. These are expenses that businesses don't need, and these are expenses that businesses steer away from. You want to be successful? Cut the red tape, cut the regulation, get out of the way and let free enterprise operate and expand. That when you give people business, when you give people job opportunities, you give people hope, you give them self-sufficiency, you give them independence. Now you have people that are away from crime. They see opportunity, and they seek that opportunity as a new a future, versus being caught without any existing opportunities.
The next question goes to Mr. Patti first.
One of the ways that the 2012 pension reform legislation impacted county government workers was to create a second benefit tier for new employees that offers a less generous pension formula than what is used for current employees. Given that the county's current funding status of its pension liability is only 64% and likely to get worse, this reform may be too little too late. Are you concerned? And what should be done to help ensure the county's pension system is sustainable and affordable?
It's a concern regionally, it's a concern statewide. Yes, I'm concerned, and I do believe, I've spoken with some of the existing supervisors, that Monica Nino has a plan, that they're addressing that. I know that there's some contract negotiations going on for SEIU. Why that's not been resolved after months and months and months of delay, that's frustrated a lot of county workers, and that's left a lot of people very disappointed in the current leadership. We should be able to not only ratify a contract that satisfies our local workers, but we also need to have a plan that adequately prepares for the responsibility we're going to have for the promises that we made to our employees and to the county's sustainability. The county is expanding, and that's wonderful. But we also have to make sure it's sustainable, and we're spending the money fiscally and responsibly so that we have a sustainable future. As a business person, I look at P&Ls. As a business person, I make payments, I take care of my responsibilities, and I need to be exceptionally and fiscally responsible with budget money so that I stay in business for 45 years plus in continuation. So as a county supervisor, A, we have to be fiscally responsible, and B, we have to meet the requirements and the responsibilities we have in the future. So it's something that I know the CAO's office is working on. I know there's a plan, and I would support that plan, and we need to bring all the people together on the table, sit down, negotiate, and make sure that everybody's needs are being met, but we all work together as a team to accomplish those goals.
So I'm glad my opponent acknowledges that we have a plan. We actually implemented that plan several months ago. And that plan actually requires that we set aside 0 through 5% of payroll each budget to address our unfunded pension liability. We are keenly aware of our pension liability. San Joaquin County manages its own pension system. And so when we make decisions in terms of the budget, which is a $1.4 billion budget, much larger than my opponent's small business budget, we have to be mindful of all the things that we have to balance, particularly the services that we provide to all of you here today. We have to be mindful that there are public safety concerns, and this year I'm proud that we passed a structurally and fiscally sound budget that invests in our public safety, particularly in our district attorney's office, and adding more community patrols through our sheriff's department. I'm very proud of the work that the Board of Supervisors has done to address this particular issue, pension, unfunded liabilities, and we will continue to work in the future collaboratively with our employees, with our community stakeholders, to be able to continue to provide the services that San Joaquin County residents deserve in a responsible manner.
That's what I say. If you're insulting that I have a small business compared to you following staff and never signing the front side of a check, there's a dramatic difference when you have something on the line and you actually have stakes in the game, and you're leading and taking on the responsibilities of business versus following staff's recommendations and spending taxpayers' money. There's a dramatic difference. So don't ever insult a small business employer. That's 70% of our jobs locally. That's where your salary gets paid from.
Just for clarity, to make sure that we're addressing the questions that are at hand. We're now at our last round of questions for this particular slate, and Ms. Wanda Bivens has the last question. It will be addressed to Supervisor Zapien first.
Okay. We are very concerned about housing, economic development, and jobs. What are your priorities related to housing, economic development, and jobs? And what actions will you take in these areas to ensure the quality of life is an equal playing ground for your constituents, and especially African Americans and other minorities in your district?
Thank you. The 3rd district encompasses Lathrop, Manteca, and the northern parts of Stockton. So it's a very diverse district, and I've gotten to know it for quite some time over the time that I've served as supervisor. It's incredibly important that as a community we put our focus on education, that we develop career pathways for our young people so that they are able to not only be educated here, but also get jobs here in San Joaquin County. We are a region on the rise. In fact, this year we will be leading the state in economic job growth, almost twice the state average. And so we are working to be an economic powerhouse. And what will be critical is investing in our strategic assets, such as our airport. We're working to ensure that over the next couple of years that we can develop that airport into an international airport so we can move not only people but goods throughout the world. San Joaquin County produces some of the greatest agricultural products here, and to be able to facilitate the bountifulness that we grow here will be critically important. And we need to also focus on our youth to be able to ensure that they have recreational opportunities here, that they can flourish and grow and ultimately be very productive citizens of San Joaquin County. That is my focus. That is my dedication to you all.
Repeat the question, please.
Yes, we're very concerned about housing, economic development, and jobs, jobs, jobs. What are your priorities related to these, and what actions will you take in these areas to ensure that the quality of life is an equal playing ground for your constituents, and especially African Americans and other minorities within your district?
You said it best, jobs, jobs, jobs. I am a job creator and have been for decades now in a family business. There's too much red tape. I mentioned in the very beginning, what hurts an economy, what raises the cost for housing, whether it be on low-income housing or on development, is the fees, the red tape, the bureaucracy, all of the things that you pile on limit the prospect of economic development. If you want job development, I think we need to look at how we can incentivize existing businesses to expand. Again, cut the red tape, reduce the fees, reduce the regulations, so that local businesses have an opportunity to expand with the little bit of resources they have and allow them to hire more people locally. In return, we can attract and draw in more businesses because we're a booming economy. Sadly, California, Stockton, California is #1 in crime for the entire state of California, and #7 in America. That's a trend that's been happening over the last several years. These are the last several years that Mr. Zapien's been in city council and or as the appointed supervisor until this election. We are trending in the wrong direction. We're not attracting more people are fleeing. So we need to shore up not only business opportunities, but we need to enhance all possibilities of effective law enforcement and allow those agencies to be exceptional and successful in all of their goals that they have in the community.
We will now have our closing statements. We'll ask for Mr. Patti to go first. Closing statements are a minute and a half.
Sure, it's an honor to be here and chat with you all. There is a difference between my opponent and I. We are experienced in different ways. My opponent went to law school, and I cited earlier a resume where he had a 30% increase in funding for a nonprofit that he worked at, and a 30% increase in caseload. However, what I have from his supervisor, which is very interesting, is a document that says it's all a lie. Every single claim he had on his resume is a lie. He has 0 accomplishments in the private sector. He's misrepresented to the public and his constituents as city councilmen, And I'm sure to the governor for the appointment, he's misrepresented his experiences. I've not misrepresented anything. I come from a family of business owners here in San Joaquin County. I've worked hard to develop business opportunities. We've created a legacy of great relationships and opportunity for generations now, over 45 years. I take it as a great responsibility to work for San Joaquin County and to advance our future. Where I believe that could be is going to be through higher education, job training, trade schools. Mentoring programs are going to be instrumental, mentoring not only the at-risk youth, but mentoring the at-risk youth that are having the at-risk youth. I'm proud to be on the Child Abuse Prevention Council board. I'm proud to be on Crime Stoppers board. I'm proud to be on March of Dimes board. These are all boards that serve the community at different levels. We need to create wraparound services and mentor that next generation forward, but we need it to be with effective leaders, not people that have fluffed up a resume and accomplished very little along the way. Thank you.
Well, obviously there is two different perspectives on this particular campaign. Obviously my opponent has been convinced that attacking me will somehow help him. Well, I'm not going to engage in that political dialogue. I think that we're seeing it too much on the national level, and we don't need it here in San Joaquin County. My focus is on you and what I can do to help improve your quality of life. And so throughout the past year that I've served on the Board of Supervisors, I have worked diligently to be able to improve public safety throughout our region by working collaboratively with our public safety stakeholders and partners. I've worked to facilitate economic development by focusing on small businesses and being able to help cultivate entrepreneurship. San Joaquin County is a region on the rise. We are a constellation of cities, towns, and communities, but we are one San Joaquin County with a shared vision and a shared future. And I'm dedicated to being able to continue to represent and do the hard work that is necessary, and to be able to sacrifice on behalf of our community to do the work that is required of a public official. Now, I ask you for your support to be able to continue to make San Joaquin County a region on the rise. I believe in each and every one of you, and I believe that working together, we will rise together. Thank you so much.
Okay, this concludes our forum for the San Joaquin County Supervisor District 3, Supervisor Rosa Zapien and Mr. Tom Patti. Let's have a round of applause for both of them.